This
Today,
conference will now be recorded.
today our concept is events. Okay, events in lightning aura. Okay, events in lightning aura. First of all, what is a event? What is a event? Event is nothing but an interaction with the browser. An interaction with the browser. With the browser. That is called the event. That is called the event. How we will interact with the browser? For example, Google Chrome. This is my browser. How we will interact with the browser? For example, go to opportunity. Okay, go to opportunity. App launcher. Any object you have to go to. Go to opportunity. Go to opportunity and take any one of the existing record. Take any one of the existing record. And see here in the previous session we developed this button, right? This quick action we developed, right? When we will click on this quick action, what it will do? It is calling the lightning component, right? How will it is calling the lightning component? It is interacting with the browser. From the browser is nothing but the current browser, whatever we opened. Okay, and it is internally calling the lightning component. So how we will generate an event? How we will generate an event in the lightning? So how we will generate an event in the lightning? When click on the okay, I click on the, I mean, this is called while loading the page. Okay, while loading the page. So how we are going to generate a event? Event definition is nothing but it is interaction with the browser. We are connecting with the browser. We are communicating with the browser. How we will communicate with the browser? How we will communicate with the browser is nothing but while loading the page. Okay, while loading the page. Okay, whenever we will click on this button internally, it will call the lightning component, right? While calling the lightning component, we have init handler, right? So while loading the page, that is the first one. The second one is when we will click on command button. Command button is nothing but the save button or cancel button. Some buttons are there, right? We will develop button lightning colon button, variant is equals to brand, name is equal to save, search, cancel, right? Whenever we will click on the command button means we are interacting with the browser. We are interacting with the browser. That is technically we will call it as the event. That is technically we will call it as a event. Okay, so there are two types of event. There are two types of events. One is component type event, component type event, and another one is okay, application type event. Application type event. Okay, application type event. First of all, why we have to go with the events? What is the purpose? Okay, event definition is it is we are communicating with the browser. That is technically we will call it as a event. How we will generate an event in the Salesforce is nothing but while loading the page, when we will click on the command button, then the system automatically generate an event. Okay, how many types of events is nothing but component type event and application type event. Okay, first of all, what is the purpose of, before going into component type event and application type event, what is the purpose of events? What is the purpose of event? Purpose of events. For example, I am trying to developing one lightning component. Okay, we are trying to developing one lightning component. Okay, in this lightning component, I have huge logic. We have huge logic. Suppose taking the data from the user, communicating with the server, and again taking the data and displaying the data, again taking the data and displaying the data. User, they will select the data and updating the data in the backend. So what I'm trying to say is we are trying to developing one lightning component. Okay, one lightning component we are trying to developing. Okay, while developing a lightning component, we have huge, I mean, complex scenarios in the sense means we are writing huge code, lot of tags we are writing, lot of controllers we are, I mean, lot of code in the controller, lot of code in the helper, lot of code in the helper. Okay, lot of code in the helper we are writing. Yes, we will write what is the problem. What is the problem? Based on my requirement, we will write more number of tags and more number of functions in the controller and helper. Okay, finally, we are trying to developing one lightning component. So in that lightning component, we are writing use code. Okay, use number of tags are more functions, and the next one is controller helper more functions we are writing. Yes, what is the problem? So whenever we have more use code is there, then what we will do is we will split the code into two components. We will split the code into two components. This is one component and this is one component. So what we will do is, so we will display the data to the user. Okay, we will take the data from the user in this component. Once we will take the data from the user, we are interacting with the server. From the server we are interacting with the Apex class. Finally it will give the result. That result we will display in another lightning component. That result we will display in another lightning component. First of all, why we have to go with the events? What is the purpose? Suppose we are trying to developing one lightning component. Okay, in that lightning component we are writing more number of tags and more number of functions in the controller helper. So yes, I will write what is the problem. What is the problem? While loading that component, it will take more time. Suppose I will write more number of tags, what it will happen? What it will happen? Suppose I will write more number of tags, more number of functions. So whenever we will click on that event, our lightning component will load, right? That time it will take more time. So to take more time to load our lightning component, or to load our lightning component to perform compilation and everything, it will take more time. So what generally we will do is, we have more number of tags, then we will go on to develop two lightning components. Two lightning components. In one lightning component, we will take the data from the user. That data I will pass to the controller. From the controller, I will pass to the helper. From the helper, it is interacting with the server. From the server, it will go to the Apex class. Apex class, it will perform the business logic. That business logic, finally, it will give to the helper. From the helper, what I will do, boss, I am getting the result. This result you have to pass to this particular component, not this component, because of here we are using huge number of tags and functions. I'm splitting the logic into multiple components. Okay, while splitting the logic into the multiple components, what we have to do? So this result we want to require, right? This result I want to pass. This result we want to show here. This result we want to show here. That is our target. So finally, what we are doing? We are passing the data from one lightning component into another lightning component when an event occurs. So why we are going to use the events? To pass the data between the components when an event occurred. What is the purpose? Why we have to go and write a lightning component? And suppose we have some huge number of code is there, huge tags are there, huge functions are there. We will split the logic. Instead of writing complete logic in a single component, we will split the logic into multiple component. First, one component it will take the data. That result we will pass into another component. Finally, we are passing the data from one component to another component. So when we are passing, when you are clicking on the command button or loading the page, we are passing. So this is the purpose of the component. This is the purpose of the component. So the event is nothing. Sorry, this is the purpose of the events. Event is nothing but it is interaction with the browser. It is interaction with the browser. How we are going to interacting with the browser is nothing but loading the page, or when we will click on the command button. Okay, what there are two types of event: component type event and application type event. And what is the purpose of the event is nothing but, so instead of writing the logic in a single component, we will split the logic into multiple components. Once we split the logic into multiple component, we will pass the data from this particular component to another component by using component type event or application type event. Now we understand, right? Now we understand what is the purpose of event. So how many types of event, right? Any questions? Okay, okay. Now coming into here, component type event. Okay, component type event. component type event. I have one lightning component. Okay, I have one lightning component. This is my lightning component. Okay, in this lightning component I included some other lightning component. How to include I will explain. Okay, we will include some other lightning component. Okay, we will include this is this is one lightning component A. In this lightning component we included another component. B is another lightning component. C is another lightning component. Okay, C is another lightning component. Okay, so in the top of A we have another lightning component, that is an X. So here when an event occurred, okay, when an event occurred, I means whenever we will click on the command button, we want to pass some data. I have some data here. We want to, how we will pass the data? We will store into the variables only, right? We will store the data into the variables only, right? So we will store the data into the variables. That data we have to pass to the parent component. C is not a parent. C is not a parent. See here. A is a parent component. For A, which is the parent? X is a parent. Inside A, how many components are there? B is one component, C is another component. Okay. B and C, there is no relationship. B and C, there is no relationship. So what I am trying to say is, when an event occurred in one component, then we want to pass the data to the parent component. Parent component means there should be a relationship. There should be a relationship. So that relationship is nothing but parent to child. Parent to child. How to create that relationship I will explain. Okay, between two lightning components, how to create relationship I will explain. Okay, so my here what we are discussing is when an event occurred in one component. Here event is occurring in the lightning component B. What is the event? When we will click on the command button. When we will click on the command button, it will communicate with the controller. From the helper, it will go to the server, it will go to the Apex class. It will perform the business logic. Finally it will take that business logic and it will go to the helper. So it will go to the helper. Whenever we will click on the command button, it is performing business logic. That business logic is interacting with the server and we are getting now that result I want to pass to another component. Shall we pass to C? Shall we pass to A? Shall we pass to X? So in component type event, we will pass the data, we will communicate the data, we will communicate with the parent component only. Suppose we want to communicate with the C, no, it is not possible to communicate whenever we are using component type event. Component type event is nothing but when an event occurred. See, this is my parent component. Okay, my parent component is nothing but X. Here another component, that is nothing but A component. Here we have another component, that is nothing but B component. This is another nothing but C component. Okay, C component. Here what we are doing is, when an event occurred in this lightning component, 8 items are there, right? When an event occurred, it will communicate with the controller to the helper. From the helper it will communicate with the server. Okay, server, it will perform the business logic. Finally it will give the result, right? That result, what is my target? What is my target? I want to pass that result to the parent component, to the A, or from R to the X. So whenever we are trying to implementing the component type event, when an event occurred, we will pass the data to the immediate parent only. That is nothing but component type event. In the same hierarchy, if any components are there, when an event occurred, yes, we can pass to the parent, to the immediate, to the top parent, to the top parent. That's why we will call it as a in the same hierarchy. So in interview also they will ask, when we will go with the component type event. I mean, what is the purpose of the component type event? When an event occurred in one component and we want to pass the data to the immediate parent, then we have to go with the component type event. So finally, suppose we want to pass the data in the same hierarchy, then we have to go and use the component type event. What about application type event? Application type event is nothing but not only parent. Suppose here an event occurred. There is no relationship between B and C. Suppose we want to pass the data. Yes, we can pass the data to the C. Suppose we want to pass the data to the A. Yes, we can pass the data. We can pass the data to the A and the X. So same hierarchy plus other lightning components. Other lightning component, there is no relationship between these two components. So in that case, we will go with the application type event. Application type event. Component type event is nothing but when an event occurred. So when event will occur, when we will click on the button or loading the page, right? That time will perform some business logic. Finally, that logic, that result we are storing into one variable. That data have to pass into another component. When an event occurred in one component and we have to pass the data to another lightning component another lightning component another lightning component which is in the same hierarchy which is in the same hierarchy is nothing but it's a parent hierarchy. Okay, then we have to go and use component type event, and the next one is application type event. Application type event is nothing but when an event occurred. Okay, when an event occurred when an event occurred in one component. Okay, then we have to pass the data to any component. Then we have to go with the application type event. Any questions on this one? Any confusion here? Any questions or any confusion? Okay,
I
so
have
now,
question.
yeah, yes,
So the same hierarchy in the sense like is the parent-child relationship, is it?
yes, yes, yes.
Any component in the sense like I didn't get that part actually.
Any component in the sense means, for example, go to here.
Shouldn't it need to be any related? Like it
Who is
shouldn't be
the
in any
listener?
relation.
Who is the listeners? This is A. For example, assume that this is a B. Okay, and A is a parent, and okay, A is a parent, and B is a child. Okay, B is a child. Suppose when an event occurred here, yes. Suppose we want to pass the data to the parent, then we will just go and use component type event. Suppose we want to pass the data, another lightning component is there. There is no relationship between these two components. It is not in the same hierarchy. There is no relationship, but I want to pass the data. Then we have to go and use application type event. Got it? Nilo?
So okay, no relationship, but we are trying to make a relationship using an application. Is it like we are just trying?
Yeah. Yeah. By creating application type event, we are just communicating. We are communicating with that particular component. But we are not making any relationship. Some data is there. Whenever we will click on this button, I want to pass the data. So here I will create an event. At the same time, it will also connect to that particular event and it will receive the data.
So what can we have some quick example for this particular the other event that we are talking about, like application type event?
Quick
Some
example in the sense, uh,
say,
uh,
okay, we are trying to when an event occurred, we are trying to
mm,
send we are communicating to we are trying to communicate to the other component or another component which is not having any relationship, or
mm,
that's when we are using the application type what is it
event,
called? Event, right?
application.
Application event. So that application type event, can we have a like, is it like a two different application that we are trying to connect, or something?
That's fine. Yeah, different application. There is no relationship. Okay, for example, coming in here, this is our Salesforce. Okay, this is our Salesforce instance. Some other instances are there in that there is lightning components are there. Suppose we want to pass the data. I mean different some not some other instead some other applications. Okay, some other applications are there. Okay, so we want to pass that.
Entirely
Okay,
different application. It is not
entirely
with entirely within a different application. It's not within the
different.
Salesforce. If the Salesforce is talking to the third party tool or anything, that at that time we are just using the application type event, is it?
Not only out of the Salesforce, here also. Okay, there is no relationship. That is also one case. Okay, so some other applications are there. We want to pass the data. There also they are receiving the, like they are also writing the lightning component, and they are also they want some I mean they want some input from another application. Okay, then we are going to use the application type event. Not only
Okay.
the outside of the Salesforce, within the Salesforce also. Suppose I have an application not yet created. We will discuss that how to create an application. Okay, two applications are there. There is no relationship between those two applications. Okay, but an event occurred, some data it will generate, some result it will generate. That result I want to pass into another component. That component is in another application, not in this application.
Hmm.
We will see
Okay.
one example. We have
Sure.
any question then? Yeah.
Good. Thanks.
Okay. So finally, component type event is nothing but when an event occurred in one component. Okay, when an event occurred in one component, and we have to pass the data to the immediate parent. Means we will call it as the same hierarchy. When an event occurred, we want to pass the data to all listeners. It is not related to my application, it is not related to me. Any application, any lightning component is there that is subscribing me, then I will pass the data. That's why we will call it as all listeners who are listening me. I will pass the data. So but here component type event, if there is a relationship, then only I will pass the data, otherwise I will not pass the data. That is nothing but component type event and application type event. Any questions? Any questions? Okay, and now we will just go and see one example here. Okay, we will just go and see one example and go to here. Events in lightning or okay, yeah, component events. There is one sample example is there in the developer guide. Yes, see here, this is the example. One second, we will see that. Yeah, see here. First we have to create an event. Okay. Our target is we have two lightning component. This is one lightning component A. This is another lightning component B. This is another lightning component B. Okay. Now our target is we have to pass the data from this lightning component when an event occurred here. When we will click on this button, okay, this is first item. When an event occurred in this button, we have to pass the data to this lightning component. To this lightning component, how to pass the data is nothing but we will just go and create an event here. How many types of event is nothing but component type event and application type event. First we will just go and create an event here. How to create an event is nothing but go to here, developer console, go to here, developer console. Still it is loading. Go to here, still it is. Yeah. Go to file, new lightning event. Okay, new lightning event. See, a lightning component is there, lightning interface, lightning event is there. We created a lightning component, right? Now we are trying to creating a lightning event. Click on lightning event, okay? And lightning event component, component underscore, any name, it doesn't matter. We are trying to creating one event that is a component type event we are trying to create it, okay? Step one is Step 1, create a event. Okay, component type, create a event. Create a event. This is my event. Okay, this is my event. Click on the submit button. Click on the submit button. When we create an event, the system automatically it will create an application type event. See here. Application type event it will create and it will automatically close that tag here only. What we have to do is we will just go and close this one here. Here we are closing this one, type is equals to component this here. We are making this component event as a component type event. This is the first step. This is the first step. So we are trying to creating one component type event. One component type event we are trying to creating. Okay. Why we have to go with the component? To pass the data between the lightning components. So to pass the data, first of all, why events came into picture? To make communication between two components. Communication means what? We have to pass the data. How to pass the data? By using attributes only, right? So what I will do is I will just go on to declare attributes based on my requirement. Based on my requirement, I will just go on to declare one attribute. Okay, and attribute I will just go and put like description type is equals to string. Okay, type is equals to string. Type is equals to string. So we created one component type event. In that component type event we declared one attribute. We declared one attribute, one variable we declared. That variable name is nothing but description, type is equal to string. Type is equal to string. So we created this event, right? In this variable we declared one attribute, right? We declared one attribute right here. Okay, then what is the next step? I am trying to creating one lightning component. We are trying to creating one lightning component. How to create a lightning component? So here you have to observe this is a sample code. Okay, this is a sample code. First we created one component type event. We created one component type event. Then here you have to observe they are trying to creating notifier means this is a child they are trying to creating, and this is a parent component they are trying to creating. This is a parent component they are trying to creating. Then how to pass the data they explained here. So first step what we did, we created one component type event. In this component type event, to pass the data between these two components, we declared one attribute. So why this events came into picture is nothing but to pass the data. How to pass the data? First of all, how to store the data is nothing but variables, right? Variables, we will call it as a attribute. So we will just go and declare attributes based on our requirement in the component type event. So this is my component type event. Then the next one is here. Then the next one is here. Go and create two lightning components. Create a lightning component. Okay, lightning component, that is nothing but child one. Okay, child one. Okay, my lightning component name is nothing but go to here, new lightning component. Okay, here child lightning component, child component underscore 01. This is my lightning component. Okay, click on the submit button. Click on the submit button. Okay, click on the submit button. See, here I'm not implementing any interfaces. I'm not implementing any interfaces. We just created one lightning component. My component name is nothing but child component one. Now what is our target? Here in this component, suppose an event occurred. How an event occurred? By click on the button, right? Or while loading the page, right? Here based on my requirement, we are trying to developing a button. We are trying to developing a button. How to develop a button? How to develop a button is nothing but lightning. Go to here, take the sample code from the, go to here, lightning, lightning colon button. I'm just use lightning colon button. This is my tag. Okay, this is my tag. Here we are trying to creating, here we are trying to creating, see here we are trying to creating one button. My button name is nothing but, my button name is nothing but a child one, child button, any name here. So we are telling to this button, whenever user click on this button, you have to go to this particular function. You have to go to this particular function. So up to now what we did, we created one event. After that what we did, we created one component. What is that component? In this component only the event is going to generate. The event is going to generate. How we are generating an event? We are clicking on a button. We are clicking on button. Then we are generating an event. So how we will develop a button? This is my button. This is my button name, and we are clicking on this button. Then it will call this particular function. Then it will call this particular function. Then then the next one is, the next one is, so we have to tell to the lightning component, boss, in this button only event will generate. Okay, two buttons are there, two lightning components are there. How the lightning component, how the lightning component itself, it will identify this is a subscriber, or this is a button generation event generation component. How it will identify? What I am trying to say is, whenever we will click on this button, we have to tell to the lightning component, boss, in this lightning component I will generate one event. Okay, I will generate an event. By using that event, I will pass the data to the another lightning component, to the another lightning component which is in the same hierarchy, which is in the same hierarchy. Here you have to observe. So we have to tell to the lightning component who is where it will generate, or it is handler, it is generating the event, or it is handling the event. That we have to tell to the lightning component. That is our next step. That is our next step. Here you have to observe aura colon register event. Aura colon register event. This is nothing but we are telling to the lightning component to us, whenever user click on this button, here we are trying to generating an event. We are trying to generating an event, that we have to tell to the lightning component. How to tell? Otherwise, how the lightning component? Two cases are there. In one lightning component, we are generating an event. In another lightning component, we are taking that event. We are receiving that event. We are handling that event. So that's why we have to tell to the lightning component. We have to tell to the lightning component, boss. We have to, we have to, we are trying to generating an event here. How we are telling to the lightning component? We have to use this syntax. Aura colon register event means first we have to register the event in this lightning component. So what is which event? Just now we created one event, right? What is my event name? What is my event name? This is my event name. So we are telling to this lightning component, we will generate an event here. The lightning component is asking what is your event? Which event? Which event you are trying to generating? This event. So when we are trying to generating, whenever user click on this particular button, whenever user click on this particular button, So we are telling to this lightning component, we will generate an event here. The lightning component, how we are telling? We are using aura colon register event. Name is equals to anything, it doesn't matter. Which event we are trying to generating? Lot of events are there. So which event? This event we are trying to generating. Then the next one is go to the controller. Go to the controller here. Go to the controller. In the controller we will write, go to here. This is fire component event. Now here we have to observe event is there, right? Event. When an event occurred, when an event occurred, we want to get something, then we will just go and use this one. Okay, I will explain. Okay. Component type event. See here, component type event. Still it is not used, we will use that. Okay, we will use that. Okay, go to here component dot get event. So whatever we are registered, right? Whatever we are registered, right? That here we are trying to getting component dot get event. Component dot get event. This name we are trying to getting. This name we are trying to getting. So this is nothing but this name, whatever we registered in the component level, that we are getting here. That we are getting here. Then that we are getting here in the sense means what? We are getting a reference to this particular event, right? So we will go step by step. First we created one event. Okay, that event is nothing but component type event. Why we are creating an event? We have two lightning components are there. Between those lightning component we have to pass the data. So which data you want to pass? That data type we will just go and declare one variable. Here we are declared one attribute, name is equals to description, and the type is equals to string. So we declared one attribute, we created one event. Now what is my next step? What is my next step? Go to and create one lightning component. In this lightning component, we assume the event it will generate based on my requirement. We will assume, right? Yes, in this we will generate an event. How we are going to generate an event? We are click on the button. We are creating one button. When click on this button, we are trying to generating an event. So that we have to tell to the system, boss, user is click on this button. Here only we are trying to generating an event. So how we are going to tell to the system is nothing but aura colon register event. Aura colon register event. Name is as our wish. Type is equal to what is our event name. That event here we have to add it here. That event here we have to add. So we are telling to this lightning component we are initializing, or we are initializing the event from this component. Yes. Now we are getting a reference to the event. We are getting a reference to the event. Then what is my next step? What is my next step? So what is my next step? So we have to call the helper. From the helper we have to call the helper. From the helper we will call with the apex class. From the apex class we will perform some business logic. That business logic, we will perform some business logic. Finally we will get the result. That result we will take. That result we are trying to setting into this particular event. Whatever the event is there, right? There we are trying to setting, but here we are not writing any helper and all those things. We are directly setting some text. So this is for our understanding only how the flow is happening. See here, component component event, right? What is this component event? Component, what is this component? This is a reference. What is this reference? This is a first item reference. Component dot get event. Get event method, not get parameter we are using. Here we are using get event. Which event? Go to your component one. This event we are getting. What is this event? We are initializing this event. We are registered the event. Which event? We registered this event. In this event, what are the attributes are there? That attributes we will get here. See, that's why here we are saying component event dot set params. See here which attribute we use, which attribute we use, description, right? Take this description, this descriptions here, description, this is our text, this is my text. Okay, this is my text, this is my text. And finally here you have to observe component event dot file. Component event dot file. We are firing this event. We are firing this event. Whenever we will fire this event, whenever we are using this command, what the system it will do? What system it will do? So it will verify, the parents. It will verify the parent. Okay, in the parent any handlers are there? Multiple parents are there, right? In the parent any handler is there? Yes, handler is there. Then it will call the corresponding action. So what I am trying to say is, if you have any confusion, let me know. So Here we created one event, right? We created one event. While creating an event, it is showing application type event, right? We make it as a component type event. Then what is my next step in this first of all, why we are using this component type event? Here we have one lightning component is there, and here we have lightning component is there. We have lightning component is there. We have to make communication between these two components. Communication is nothing but we are trying to passing the data. How to pass the data is nothing but by using variables. In the lightning we will call it as the attributes. So here we declare this attribute, here we declare this attribute. Okay, so we created one component type event. So in this component type event we declared one attribute that is based on our requirement, that is nothing but description, variable name, data type is nothing but string. Now what is my next step? This is my lightning component. This is my lightning component. Okay, this is my lightning component one. Lightning component. Here you have to observe this is component one, right? This is controller, right? The second item is nothing but controller, right? The third item is nothing but helper, right? The third item is nothing but helper, right? From the helper, what we are doing? We are communicating with the server, right? We are communicating with the server, right? From the server, what we are doing? We are communicating with the Apex class, right? In Apex class, we are writing one method, right? In this method, we are writing business logic. Finally, it will give the result, right? That result again we are giving to the server, right? That result, my requirement is I want to pass that result to this lightning component. So what I will do? Just now we created one event, right? What I will do? That result is there, right? That result, what I will do? Our target is that result we have to pass into another lightning component. Why we have to pass that result to the another lightning component? What I feel is instead of developing a single lightning component, I will split the logic into multiple components. Multiple components, we are splitting the logic into multiple components. With this performance we are trying to improving. Instead of writing a complete logic in a single component, we are splitting the logic. One is taking the data from the user and performing in the backend, and finally it will give the result. That result I will pass to another lightning component. How to pass that data is nothing but in the component type event. What we have to do now, we are getting a result, right? In the previous session also we discussed some example. We are getting that result, right? That result, generally what we are doing, we are declaring here inside the variables, right? Here we are declaring attributes, and here we are declaring the attributes. We are storing the result into that attributes, right? We are storing that result into the attribute, right? But here what we are doing, I will not declare any attribute here. I will register an event. I will register an event. So I will pass this result to this particular, our target is we have to pass the data to this attribute. We have to pass the data to this particular attribute. That is our target. That is our target. Previously, before event, what we are doing? We are declaring one attribute. In that attribute, we are storing the data. By using that attribute, we are displaying the data to the user. But here it is not like that. Boss, I will fetch the data. I will get the result. That result we will pass into another component. Why we have to pass? We are splitting the logic. Instead of writing a single component, I will split the logic. With this performance is high. With this performance is high. So here our target is we are getting the result. That result I want to pass into this particular component. From this particular component, it will receive, it will also connect to this particular component, and it will receive. First of all, how to pass this result into this particular component is, first we have to register here. First we have to register. That's what here we are saying. Coming into my component, aura colon register event. Register event. First we have to register the event. Which event? This event name. This event name is nothing but type is equals to c colon event underscore component underscore 01. This is just now we created it. This event name we are using here. This event name here we are using here. Yes, we registered event. Then what is my next step? This result is there, right? That result we have to pass it. We have to store into this attribute. That result we have to store into this attribute. So how to get this attribute? Here we have an attribute. How to get this attribute? Here we have reference is there, right? Here we have reference. This is my reference. This is my reference. Here component dot get event. So component dot get event. See here component event. This is a reference. This is a reference for this event, right? So in this event, what is there? One attribute is there. Component event dot set params. What is that attribute? This attribute. Whatever the result is there, we are getting from the backend. That result is here, response dot get return value. We will store here, right? We will store here. Response dot get return value, right? Previously we are getting a response, so I am not writing any helper, so we will write the helper also. Suppose you have any confusion, helpers here. Whenever user click on this particular button, what we are doing, I'm calling this particular function. From this particular function, what we are doing, call helper. Okay, call helper we are calling. Okay, this is my helper, this is my helper, call helper. From this helper, what we have to do, this is my helper, go to this particular helper. Okay, go to this particular helper. This is my helper. In this helper also, I'm just passing all these three parameters. Go to here, go to here, helper component, event helper. Here what we will do, communicate with the server, communicate with the server side method, with the server side method, right? And pass the parameters. If any parameters are there, pass the parameters, right? Pass the parameter, then we have to execute, right? Then we have to execute, right? Then we have to execute that method, right? Then get the result, right? Method will give the response, right? Method will give the response, right? Method will give the result, right? Will give the result, right? That result we have to pass. That result, generally here what we are doing before component type event, what we are doing, what we are doing, we are directly storing into the attributes, right? That result we are storing attributes, right? We are storing into the attributes, into variables, right? We are storing into attributes, right? Into attributes. Okay, into attributes. But here what we are doing is that result, this is before event, what we are doing is we are passing to the component type event. We are passing to the component type event. Why we have to pass to the component type event? I am splitting my logic because of to improve the performance. I am splitting the logic into two components. Okay, one component we are communicating with the server, another component for displaying the data. So that result we are trying to pass it, that result we are trying to passing. How to pass is nothing but, first of all, we are registered the event, right? We are registered the event. In this event we declared one variable, right? In this event we declared one variable. What is that variable? What is that variable? So what we have to do is we have to use this code. First we have to get this reference, whether it is a controller or helper. The component dot this is a component dot get event. What is this component event? In the component levels, a registered event is there. Here we declared one event, right? This is a reference for that event, right? In this event we have one variable is there. In that variable we are setting the result. In this variable we are setting the result. Previously this register event not is there. That time what we are doing, we are declaring variable here, aura colon attribute, and the name is equals to variable name, and the type is equals to this one, type is equals to this one, right? We are declaring one attribute here. Then after that what we are doing, whatever the result here we are getting, right? Component dot here, component dot set set here, whatever our variable is there, right? V dot this variable name, v dot whatever the variable name is there, right? Here whatever the variable name is here, this variable name we will call it and we will pass it, right? Response dot get return value, response dot get return value, right? Return value we are passing previously like this, right? Whatever the result is getting, that result we are passing into here, that result we are passing into here, into this particular attributes, whatever the attribute is there. Now we are not doing like that, we are not doing like that. We registered an event. By using event we are passing the data to another component. So by using this event we are passing the data to another component. Yes, where is your event? Yes, I registered the event here. This is my event, this is my event. So first of all we have to get a reference to this particular event. The reference is nothing but this one. See how we are getting a reference, component dot get event, this one. Then the next one is we have to pass the result. We have to pass the result here. How to pass the result. So how to set the result. So first of all whatever the result is there, right, that we have to set. component dots. Here we are setting the result into this into this particular variable. Where is this variable? What is this message? This is a variable. This variable we declared here, right? This is a description here. This is a variable. This is a variable. See, this is a variable. We are trying to setting the result into this particular variable. So any questions or any confusion? Previously, whatever we are doing the same thing, everything we are doing the same thing. But here we are using event. Here we are using event. Why we are using the event? We are splitting the logic into multiple components. Why we are splitting the logic? To improve the performance. Instead of writing complete logic in a single component, we are splitting the logic into multiple components. Yes, once you split the logic into the multiple components, one component we are taking the data from the user and we are performing the business logic, and finally it will give the result. That result, it will act as an input to another component. So that result have to pass. How to pass? Salesforce introduced two types of event. One is component type event, another one is application type event. We created one component type event. While creating a component type event, what type of data this component type event it will receive? It will receive list data or string data. Here I'm passing only string data. That's why we declared my data type as a string. So now where from which component we will pass the data? From this component. So here we will just go and register the event. Which event? This is the event. This is any name of the event name. Now what is my next step? Helper. Go to the helper. Here we are getting that result. That result we are setting to this particular event. That result component type event dot set param. What is here? This DESC. Description is what? This is a variable. Whatever we declare the variable, right? That variable here. So for this variable we are setting the result. Previously what we will do? So here we will just go and use response dot get return value, right? We are declaring one attribute. In that attribute we will use response dot get return value. Here we are not using attribute. So we had created one lightning event. For that event we declared one attribute. In that attribute we are storing the result. Whatever we are getting the result from here, but here we are not writing any apex class and methods. Just assume that this is a response. This is a response from the server side. That response we are trying to setting into this particular attribute. This attribute is where? In this reference. Where is this reference? This reference is nothing but here. Now what is my next step? We are registering the event and we are setting the result to that particular attribute. Then what we have to do? So here, coming into here, so here we are setting the result. We are taking the result and we are setting the result here. Then what we have to do? Once we set the result, then immediately we have to tell to the listener, boss, result is set. Now you have to take that result. So I'm fetching the result from the server and I'm trying to storing into this particular variable. Yes, we are stored into this particular variable, right? Now we have to tell to this component, boss, result is ready. You have to access immediately. How to tell? How to tell is nothing but we have to use component event dot file. See here, component event dot file. Here we have to use this particular tag, component event dot file. We are telling this component, boss, result we set here. Result is set here. Now we have to take immediately. How we have to tell? We are using this command, component event dot file. Whenever we will use this command, what it will happen? Another lightning component. Go to here. We have to create, not yet created. We will create another lightning component is there, right? So go to here in this light file, new lightning component, parent components here. This is my parent component. This is my parent component name. Click on the submit button. So we created one more component. Okay, we are passing the data between these two components, right? This is another lightning component. Create a lightning component. See here. Okay, create a lightning component. Okay, create a lightning component. Another lightning component you have to create. This is my lightning component. How this lightning component it will identify? Someone is passing the data to me. Some event is passing the data to me. How this lightning component it will identify? Here this lightning component, see here, this lightning component should use handler. This lightning component should use handler. Go to here, this lightning component. This is a lightning component. How this lightning component receive? How this lightning component will identify some event is passing data to me. That event from into that particular event, how data is coming, I'm not sure. Some event is passing the data to me. This is event. This event is passing the data to me. How this lightning component know? How this lightning component know is nothing. But in this lightning component, we have to use a handler tag. Just observe here. Here we are using register event. Means we are firing the event from here. Here in this component we are using a handler. What does that mean? It is the receiving the event. It is receiving the data from the event. It is receiving the data from event. Which event? Which event? From which event it will receive the data? Just now we created one event, right? That event. Yes. Once it will receive the data, then what it will do? It will call this particular action. It will call this particular action. Means it will call this particular action. In this action, what we have to do? Whatever we want, we will just go and do it here. Whatever we want, we will just go and do it here. We understand the concept, right? See, we understand the concept. First, created one component type event. While creating a component type event based on our requirement, we declare the attribute. Here we declared one attribute that data type is a string. Now we created one lightning component. In this lightning component, assume that in the previous session we discussed one detailed quick action, like quick action. So whenever user click quick action, that type of example, assume that we created one lightning component here. We created in the lightning component here. This is my component. Okay, this is my controller. This is my helper. In this component, what we will do is, so we will just go and register an event. Register an event. This event we are going to register. Registering in the sense, in the sense, boss, I will pass the data you have to receive. We are telling to this event, boss, I will pass the data to you. You have to receive. You have to receive. That we are telling to this component. That we are telling to this event. From this component we are telling. From this component we are telling, I will pass the data you have to receive. So how we are telling? By using registered event. Go to here. By using registered event. So this event we are registered, and this is our name, reference name for that event. In our lightning component we are referring by using this particular name. Then the next step is, when your event it will generate. Assume that here it will generate whenever we will click on this button. It will call the controller. From the controller it will call the helper. From the helper it will call my business logic apex class it will call the method. It will perform the operation. Finally it will give the result. That result I will take. That result is nothing but we have to store into variables, right? Any data type. Result is nothing but some data type, whether it is a string, integer, id, list, object, map, any data type. That result we will get. That I have to store. Or previously, before using the event, what we will do? We will create attributes and we will store, right? And we will also display in the same lightning component, right? But here what we are doing, we created one event. In that event we have to pass that data. So what we are doing, in the first component we created one event, right? We registered an event. That event we are getting here by using this reference component events here, by using this one. Then the next one is what we are doing here. Then the next one is, so in this event whatever the result is there, right? That result we are storing into this particular variable. What is the result? Here I am just hard coded here. So generally we will get it from the server, right? We just hard coded. Now we are storing the result into that particular event. Then what is my next step? We have to tell to this lightning component, boss, I'm storing this result. I'm storing this result. Otherwise this lightning component, it will communicate with this particular event. This part it will communicate with this particular event. Okay, we have to tell to this event, boss, I am passing the result to this particular event. You have to take this event, then you have to pass whoever the listeners are there. That here we are doing here component event dot fire. Means what is this? We are telling to the event, boss, who are listening you. You have to pass. You have to pass the data. You have to notify them. You have to notify them. So that we are telling to this event. That's why component event dot fire. Then this event what it will do is, who are handlers are there? Who are the handlers? So this is one handler, right? Just now we created one handler. This handler, for this event only, for this event, this handler, the corresponding action it will fire. In this action what I will do, whatever the result is there, right? Whatever the result is there in this component, that result I will take and I will perform the remaining business logic. This is component type event. I mean, tomorrow we will execute. Tomorrow we will see the complete how to execute, and you have any questions we'll discuss in the next session.